Hello everyone and welcome to OEM Update Magazine's interactive session on electrical mobility, automotive industry trends and technologies. The last 2 years have been challenging for the automobile industry due to global pandemic. The Indian automobile industry on the road to recovery continues to face new challenges. While on one hand, we are seeing a revival in commercial and passenger vehicle demand on the other hand, and the transition of automobiles towards electric mobility is getting inevitable. Auto industry is visualizing to make India a global leader in electric mobility, increased speed on road infrastructure, voluntary scrappage policy, R&D and PLI are the encouraging trends for the automotive sector. With the vision of Aatmanirbhar Bharat, industry is bound to provide opportunities for investment and employment in the country that will redefine the economy also. The Indian automotive industry, including component manufacturing, is expected to reach around 18 trillion rupees by 2026. And India's electric vehicle market is estimated to be approximately 5,000 crore by 2025, with 2 and 3-wheelers expected to drive higher electrification of the vehicles. On this note, today we have come together to witness an engaging interactive session on electrical mobility, automotive industry trends and technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished speakers, Mr. Pritesh Singh, Manager, Case NRI Consulting and Solutions India Private Limited, Mr. Rahul Shaunak, Founder, Metalloid Labs, Mr. Sumit Kumar, Co-Founder, Go Zero Mobility, Mr. Aditya Ganjapure, Vice President Technology in Green Tiger Mobility Private Limited, and Ms. Geeta Aula, Senior Technical Manager, Dassault Systems.
Ms. Geeta, you were talking how advantageous is virtual twin accuracy to study the behavior of the systems by simulation. Right. Yes, of course, emission is concerned and design trends have to be there. So in a shift towards digital future, what new opportunities do you see for next-gen EV market, powertrain mechanisms, as well as tax safety solution in case EV catches fire? Ms. Geeta, please.
Thank you, sir, for that question. That's a very good question, I would say. So to answer the first question, I would say that, we have a lot of technology at hand where the startups and OEM companies can make use of to accelerate their, EV, production and then get their vehicles faster into the market. Unlike ICE engines, where we had about, like, say, 100 years of time probably, to kind of improve on each and every model, improve on the behavior, performance. With EVs, I don't think we'll have so much luxury in terms of time. So in the next, 5 to 10 years, there would be rapid changes that every OEM and startups might need to adopt to get their vehicles, into the market faster. And the only way they can probably do this is by adopting, the digital platform to build their entire, vehicle in a virtual space and, simulate it for various, conditions, like as you have said, be it either for, a short circuit condition, thermal dynamic condition, or a nail penetration. Because ideally, it wouldn't be possible to simulate all of this in a, real world condition. Like, let's say, it would be possible, but I would say it would be quite expensive. And in terms of, the cost aspects, considering the cost aspects, the expertise which is required, I would say the digital platform offers a lot more solution and technology to understand, the behavior and performance of EVs. So if I could take one example, if you look at EVs, CMC-MI compliance is going to be very, very crucial and important. Of course, there are unquiet chambers for testing the full vehicle, but it is quite expensive. And to be able to understand the EMC-MI behavior, we could make use of simulation techniques that we have today, which could be at a component level, subsystem, or a full vehicle level. So I would say that using the digital solutions that we have at hand today, by using the techniques we have, the EVs are going to adopt by adopting our solutions, so they can definitely see a value and then get the products quickly into the market.
Cyclability challenges, I will only talk about the Indian market. Obviously, there are a lot of developments in Europe as well as in other markets. But in India, 2-3 years back, I think only few players were there. And they were also, what they were doing, they were collecting the batteries. They were collecting the batteries and supplying the batteries to companies like Umicore and others for the recycling. But this year I have visited several companies. Just to name few are companies like Exigo in Panipat, and there are others also in North India. And they have actually started doing the recycling. So obviously we need a framework wherein we define everything in the beginning because of the different battery chemistry and all. But it has started developing in India, and actually it is happening. And probably there will be a lot of batteries coming from outside India also. And we expect to have a very developed recycling industry by 2030, at least at some level of scale in India.
Thank you, Mr. Pritesh. You very well said. So battery revolution has also to be there. It has to go along with the digital shift. Mr. Aditya, coming to you, though EV is trending and lot of groundwork has to be there, lack of charging infrastructure, that is to be that is the main concern. Value and branding is retrofitting ICE engines and creating hybrid creations. What manufacturing practices need change for shifting to green alternatives as electrical vehicle to combat surge in fuel operated vehicle air pollution? Mr. Aditya.
Yeah, so like you mentioned about hybrid electric vehicles, when you convert the existing IC engine vehicle to the hybrid, so there are certain parameters which you need to consider while developing the vehicle. So for example, you need a common throttle for both your IC engine work as well as EV work. Again, you have a motor at your rear wheel, which is closer to the silencer, so that it should not get heat up with the heat of the silencer. And so for that, we have to do a lot of simulations on various softwares like Altair, ANSYS, etc. Again, with that, again, we have to design our own wiring harness. For example, if you are riding on electric mode, it should not hamper or it should not give you the permission to start your IC engine vehicle. So while riding on electric mode, if someone puts on the ignition, it should not happen that it should start, and then it will create a chaos and may have an accident kind of a situation. So all these things you have to take into consideration while designing the hybrid on existing IC engine vehicles. But I think it's a good way forward for the smoother transition for EVs. And again, for developing a pure electric vehicle, you have one thing for sure is liberty to design your vehicle according to all the things. For example, when you make your technical specification requirement, so at that time only you consider that this much amount of range I want, this much amount of speed I want. So according to that, I need this much amount of battery. So whether I go with NMC chemistry or LFP chemistry, or so how much kilowatt hour battery I need, how much kilowatt motor I need. So taking that into consideration, we can from scratch design an electric vehicle. So yeah, there are some different challenges in both the things, but the one thing is good in pure EV is you can develop your own vehicle from scratch, so you have a liberty. And in case of hybrid, it's little bit complex to build a system on top of the existing IC engine.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Aditya. Definitely, we would come across with the solutions also to make the hybrid electric also a very easy thing. Mr.
Sure.
Rahul, The sunrise industry is stepping up, marching with new product launches, as you mentioned in your discussions. What factors may influence transition of consumer purchase behavior? Trusting EV as a local assembly and other infrastructure that is still in developing phase. Mr. Rahul.
Yeah, thanks. Good question. So I just answered a question. Somebody was asking in the chat that what will happen, how the consumers will get the low cost EV and still they can get the indigenously made EVs. So these things go hand in hand. If we try to make something local and try to develop a technology, it takes time. As I said, the manufacturers are working overnight and they are trying to revolutionize this industry in India by making the local parts, by developing the technology which is not there in the developed nations itself, the development market itself. So yes, the sunrise industry is there. There are some challenges. These challenges are related to the on consumer side. If I say, the price is everything. India is price sensitive market, and if we produce the same vehicle for the right use case in the same cost as we are making in ICE, we have the winner in hand, and the mass adoption will happen. It is just the matter of time that the numbers are growing up. The numbers will speak itself once consumers start to understand that, yeah, this is the real use case. EVs can be the mainstream vehicle. It will not be the second vehicle or the alternate vehicle for them. It will be the main vehicle. It completes all the tasks of day in, day out. And yes, this is a serious business case for any consumer. So if I sum it up, there will be a hard time when the TCO, the total cost of ownership of the vehicle, will start slightly coming down, and it will be approaching towards comparative to the IC engine, be it diesel or CNG or petrol, and once the day will come, people will start to adopt in a rapid manner.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Rahul. Naturally, if the demand is there and supply is to be made, then definitely costs will come down in the cost curve.
True.
Coming to Mr. Sumit Kumar, incentivizing by government to create infrastructure that you mentioned. Skilling is required, of course, because it's a new venture. Battery cell production also impacts the EV market. So what are the barriers to the adoption of alternative fuel vehicles in India? High prices or lack of electric vehicle charging infrastructure? What is your opinion, Mr. Sam?
Lack of charging infrastructure is one of the biggest reasons behind the low adoption. And also you would have seen two-wheelers and three-wheelers are actually driving the whole transition to electric mobility as of now, because four-wheelers are still are on the higher end of price segment. But as Rahul said, I mean, India being a price-sensitive market, people if you see from the consumer's point of view, they actually look for value for money. And range anxiety is always there. There was a recent case where Tata Nexon, right? Every single company claims to have a certain range, which actually does not turn out to be true. So the consumer mind is actually full of range anxiety. That's one of the reasons why people look for charging infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Sumit, for answering that. That is revealing a charging infrastructure has to be there. So, will there be emerging trend toward consolidation, altering the automobile leadership in the EV infrastructure segment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an ecosystem, right? Every single company is working their way toward creating an infrastructure for it, be it a two-wheeler manufacturer, be it a three-wheeler manufacturer, be it a four-wheeler manufacturer. So everyone is trying their best, trying to cut down on the cost, Yeah, but trying to cut down on the cost, creating more infrastructure. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sumit. What are your views, Mr. Pritesh, about it?
I completely aligned with the thoughts what Sumit has said about the consolidation. And now, if you look at the EV journey, especially in India, is driven by startups, right? There are very limited number of global automotive OEMs, especially in the passenger vehicle segment. In two-wheeler as well as three-wheeler segment also, it's all kind of EV stories driven by startups in India till now. Going forward, we see some level of consolidation, starting from two-wheeler, three-wheeler L3 segment at least.
Thank you
And
very much.
I think from the beginning of 2023, financial year 2023, we are going to see more products, better quality products in with high range, because global automotive OEMs will have no other option than introducing an electric vehicle, even if it takes a profitability hit for them due to upcoming CAFE norms. And ministry has made it very clear that they are not considering any shifting the timelines for CAFE norms. So we hope that by 2023, you will have some products by global automotive OEMs as well. That will help in developing the overall supply chain. Also will have I think a good effect for other vehicle segments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Pritesh, for revealing that and giving that information about that. Mr. Rahul, in reference to incentive programs by government, whether PLI scheme will boost the market for EV segment? Do you hold that view?
Yeah, let's look at it at a perspective. Though PLI is for the manufacturers, it's not directly for the consumers. But end result is that everybody wants EV to be price competitive against ICE vehicles, right? And government, like Pritesh has very not briefly, in detail explained that the corpus of FAME 1 was underutilized. It went into FAME 2. In bits and pieces, it's being utilized. I'll give an example. Very recently, Delhi has stopped giving the FAME subsidy for electric four-wheelers. Now it's not there. I think approximately 1,000 cars have been registered, and they said that traction is already there in the market, and that's the objective of the government, that they just want the traction. They just want people to experience the EV so that they know that what kind of benefit they'll drive away from the vehicle. So, and coming back, the overall objective is to give some incentive to the consumers to understand the technology, understand the product, and once people understand it, it's a win-win for everyone. So PLI scheme is I'll say helps in other way around, or I can say in dotted line, that ultimately once the manufacturing prices comes down with the help of PLI, it eventually helps the consumers to adopt the technology and the product with lesser prices. So in a way, it's helpful. It's not direct, but yeah, on the larger picture, if we see the bird eye view, it's eventually helping the consumers. As Pritesh said that, 2023 is the time when people will be forced, I'm using these words, but people will be forced to make the parts here, even though it's in bits and pieces, it's much more economical to bring it from outside than making it here. But eventually, once we're talking about volumes, making here is the way forward. Making in India is the way forward, and the sooner we come to the point where it is economical viable, the business case is there, yes, consumers will have their upper hand on the pricing side.
Yeah, if you allow, I would like to few very
sure.
Rahul has already put into perspective very interesting points. So with PLI scheme, as Rahul has already mentioned, right, that ultimately manufacturing price is going to be lesser, and then that is eventually going to be passed to the consumer, and consumer is going to get the benefit. So if you look at the current status, right, of lithium-ion battery manufacturing globally versus India, So and the prices also, right? So globally, I think prices are around $150-$60 per kilowatt hour, with 10% difference between different chemistries. But in India, that is not the case. I think it's at least around $220 to $230 I'm talking about, if you give comparatively the larger volumes, right? That too with grade B cells. And now, till now, in FAME scheme also, there was 18 components listed, which if localized is kind of 50%, 40 to 50% localization of the vehicle. But there was no real level of localization. There was no mechanism to check whether localization is happening or not. So you import everything, you just do some, even without value addition, and you declare actually that we are doing this in India, and it was counted as local. So FAME was not able to do the real level of localization. That is how a scheme such as PLI was required. And 50 to 60% vehicle cost generally is from the batteries. And now only pack manufacturing, 15% localization. So even government is saying under PLI scheme that we aim to have at least 60% localization. Again, that is a very big challenge. Companies have committed 130 gigawatt hour per gigawatt hour cumulative demand, but that's a challenge, because then you have to kind of localize anode, cathode, separators, electrolyte, everything in India. Anode, definitely we can do, but cathode and others have challenges. But yes, at least if not 60%, then definitely there is going to be some real level of localization. And ultimately, even if we are able to match with the global prices, I think it's going to be a huge advantage, and vehicle prices are going to go down like anything.
Thank you, Mr. Pritesh. Would you like to add to this, Ms. Geeta?
I think both Mr. Rahul and Mr. Pritesh have covered it well. And as Mr. Pritesh was saying, when it comes to localization of cells or pack. So again, how we can make use of the digital solutions we have to understand these systems better is something that we can look at by those solution offerings we have to make, because be it either any chemistry, battery chemistry, it becomes very important to understand the behavior for different types of cells like cylindrical, prismatic, or pouch, especially for the Indian conditions, operating at various terrains and temperature conditions. So it is very important to understand the behavior of these cells at different temperatures and see what is the best battery management system to have in place to be able to provide better range and performance.
Thank you
and
for
I think just to add what Geeta has said, I think engineering industry is going to play in future a significant role. In traditional automotive industry also, if you look at, I think all the global OEMs have either their own engineering centers in India or ODCs with like Indian engineering centers. And there are two types of engineering companies: purely engineering service providers and companies like Dassault innovators. So I think in EV also, this ecosystem which is already there, and all of these companies are working on kind of solution building services around electrification and kind of gearing up towards there. So within 5 to 10 years, I think this engineering industry is also going to help a lot to the development, localization, cost reduction of electric vehicles.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Geeta and Mr. Pritesh, for extending the views over it. There is a question from the Q&A box we have received, Mr. Pankaj. He asked, how about the build quality of 2-watt EVs? People have the general impression that ICE 2W are sturdier as compared to EV. Is any work being done to assure the customers about the sturdiness of vehicle?
So we have been designing, my past experience constitutes of working on the research and development of vehicles. So any questions related to that excites me. So hence I took this question. I remember I was working on a project, and we called that that was the first vehicle designed, completely designed from it was a SUV. So right from the BIW, we call it body in white, which is the body of the vehicle. Right from BIW, everything was designed in India, and the vehicle was developed in approximately 6 years. There we targeted to achieve NCAP 5-star in safety ratings. We reached somewhere, but I'll not name the vehicle. But yeah, we reached somewhere. But if I have to break this question in two pieces, one is the basic structure of the vehicle, which constitutes the sturdiness, if we call it. The sturdiness, and second part is the technology, where transmission comes in the picture. If I take the example of IC vehicle, the clutch, the brakes, and everything else comes as a system. So I'll call it a system, and the core, the skeleton part of the vehicle. So this part is not changed for two-wheeler. The core, the basic of the vehicle will be as same as ICE. There is no specific need to design special parts for electric vehicle. There could be some reductions. If we talk about the chassis of the, let's take the example of a two-wheeler, a ICE two-wheeler and a electric two-wheeler, the chassis remains same. The overall load is little bit reduced. Then there are possibilities of reducing the weight, then increasing the weight. So the basic core of the vehicle remains the same. So hence, I don't see a possibility that we need to specially design, or rather, yeah, we will be definitely, manufacturers will be designing the vehicles for their need, but there is not specific element that needs to cater for electric vehicle. Yes, the basic structure demands are as same. Eventually the vehicle is going to ply on the road, so all the road conditions have to be met. All the analysis has to be 2-post, 4-post, all the test has to be done. But eventually there is no specific requirement of designing a part which caters to EV. Packaging is very is one aspect where it is a make or break for the OEM. Tesla is world-renowned company because it packages the battery so well that the vehicle is protected all time, and consumers or the passengers are protected all time, even in the case of or mishap of crash. Packaging is one aspect where OEM are playing or giving attention, but no specific need for designing a specific EV than ICE. I hope I could explain any questions, please feel.
Mr. Prasad has something to ask.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Gopal. So, Mr. Rahul, you were addressing about the necessity and essential of moving towards, say, EV electrical vehicle. What do you see? What kind of manufacturing opportunities it is going to open up, especially for various segments like machine tools industry, forming and cutting? How do you see it?
There are again, let me just break this question into two parts. There are technologies which we are using because let's say Indian automotive industry, let's say is 30-35 years old. We say that when Maruti came, it started with a big bang. Like the places like Delhi, Gurgaon, and those areas were practically non-manufacturing areas, became the hub of manufacturing, automotive manufacturing, and some of the technologies which we were not doing as a nation or not making as a nation, we started doing stamping, as you said, that stamping. Those were the areas of manufacturing which were not addressed. But thanks to the catalyst of the automotive manufacturers like Suzuki, Hondas, and all the OEMs who started, and in the domestic, Bajaj and Hero, Honda, they started manufacturing. So first part of the technology is which is already existing, which is there. Second part, which we are developing. So I think the developed part is already taken care of. Somebody has asked this question that the die casting, how the die casting will play along. Die casting will be there. There will be parts who, regardless of we are making electric mopeds, electric scooters, electric motorcycles, or electric four-wheelers, or even LCV or HCVs coming in the EVs. Die casting parts will be there. These are the core manufacturing processes. This is not going anywhere. The focus right now, what manufacturers are doing, they are struggling also because of the high operational or material input cost, is that the new set of components which came into existence because of EV, let's say power electronic parts. Right now, we know how to make it as a nation, as an industry. We know how to make it, but the input cost is high. We cannot compare it with the import parts. So eventually there will be a break even when things will start falling in place because of the prices coming down. And this is where the focus should be, and this is where the focus is. And part of it is being addressed in PLI, and some way or the other, government are encouraging startups to come in electric mobility. And it is happening. With all fingers crossed, it is happening at a slow pace. But
absolutely. And you say that it brings a lot of opportunity for manufacturing sector, along with, say, like what Ms. Geeta was creating about the essentiality or need of digital twins and other technologies for manufacturing side. Mr. Pritesh, my question is this: that what kind of challenges these manufacturers are going to face, especially people who have already conventional setups ready in manufacturing, and when they move towards EV manufacturing, like you very well addressed about the recycling aspect of say batteries, what are the other challenges we can expect with that?
Yeah, so for traditional automotive OEMs, I have been kind of facing this question since so many years, right? So first step is all the global. That is why like EV story is driven by startups in India. So first question, they will try to avoid adoption of new technologies, right? Okay, so in a country like India, probably it's far away, and we need to study first China market, outside European and US, and then kind of come up with some trends like that. But now situation is that yes, it is happening and it will happen. Challenges in terms of like for global organizations, I think, or the companies which are already established in this, is one is in terms of their strategy of the market prioritization. Every company probably doesn't have a similar focus to the different markets. Now, if a company, let's say, have a focus on India market, then they have kind of given employment, build manufacturing facilities, vendor base, so many things. So they have to kind of protect that. Whatever value they have created, they have to protect that. And then a new technology, and phase-wise manner of shifting to the new technology. And I think that is why companies have their own target of like 2040, 2050 with like 50-60% of conversions aligned with their global things. But yes, it is not going to be that easy thing for these organizations. They are going to face a lot of challenges because ultimately they have to change many things.
Absolutely, Mr. Pratish. Thank you so much for addressing this session. And now we are reaching the stage where we can close this session. So may I ask Ms. Geeta to give a closing statement for this session?
Thank you. It was very interesting to listen from the other panelists in terms of the challenges we are facing in the EV segment, the trends we are seeing, and how the industry is going to be next 5 to 10 years. And it was very interesting session with interesting questions. And I hope this session was found useful. And if there are any questions, then feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you.
Mr. Sumit and Mr. Aditya, do you have anything to share before we conclude this session?
It was great to be here. Pritesh and Rahul have pretty much covered the challenges and whatever is happening in the EV segment. And as rightly Pritesh said, EV market is here and it is here to stay. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, so thank you so much first of all, and it was a really wonderful session listening to all the colleagues, and everyone has captured all the points and trends in EV very in crisp manner and very properly, and with a lot of detail in so much of time. So it's very wonderful. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's topic, electrical mobility, automotive industry trends and technologies. We hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Pritesh, Ms. Geeta, Mr. Rahul, Mr. Aditya, and Mr. Sumit. I would also like to thank Mr. Gopal Anand and Mr. Prasad Nair for taking this initiative. We would like our delegates and viewers to stay connected with us on our social media handles. OEM Update Magazine is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Additionally, you can also join our app from Google Play and App Store. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. Request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.